Ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka, ooka chaka, ooka, ooka.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Welcome to the Week 7 of Bill Neese's Coach Show. With us is Coach Bill Neese, host Chip Hare, and the Indians fall to West Carrollton in a very tough game on Friday, 39-34 in a shootout. Certainly, Coach, not the outcome we were looking for, but there are several takeaways from that game that we had.
A lot of interesting things happened during the course of the game. I thought we were challenged a couple ways, defensively. I thought we were challenged a couple ways on our special teams. And we did some good things, and we also did some things. On one hand, we had 9 quarterback sacks. On the other hand, we gave up 4 touchdowns, 4 long balls. And I thought, our players continued to respond to it. It got to the point where once we knew it was going to kind of be a shootout and it was going to be the last person that's going to score, the biggest thing that I thought hurt us was the fact that we got behind in the score. In other words, for most of the game, we were scoring, and then they had to match it. We were scoring, they had to match it. And then we found ourselves after that special teams thing in a situation where they were scoring and we had to match it. And when you look down at a situation like that and you see the fact that there's a minute 30 in the game and players are still working their butts off, we were able to try to get an onside kick. The biggest thing I took out of it was the fact that our players are going to battle till they see 2 zeros on the clock. And no, we didn't play great in a couple places, and we probably didn't coach great in a couple places, but we all hung in there together. We're going to make it through, and we're going to get better for it.
The one thing that we talked about on the coach's show last week was they can put points on the board. We talked about that last week, and
very quickly.
None of that was a surprise to you. I mean, you were all prepared for that, and that. So there was nothing there from that perspective that we were surprised. The other thing that you talked about was they had the leading receiver in the league, and he was a big factor in the game Friday night.
He was, and unfortunately it turned into a little bit more of a matchup situation rather than sometimes back in the day it could be a team versus that whole team concept, and it got out to be a couple just isolations, a little one-on-one out in open space, and we weren't able to make the plays, and we're trying to do a couple different things, and I thought they did a very good job when we kept our inside linebackers in for the quarterback scrambles, that they tried to hit a couple seams. I know, on our part, we dropped 3 interceptions, which I think would have been able to flip that game around a little bit also, and we just weren't able to make the plays.
Coach, one of the things about the game of football for any sport, but particularly where we are now, we are in week 6. Just like the big win we had a couple weeks ago with Sydney, you have 24 hours, and the next one, win or lose, you got to get ready for the next one because Xenia comes in on Friday night. Yeah,
and it's such a humbling game. I mean, just every 7 days your card's up, and it's determined. Are you going to win or lose? And I think, and also with that, as you win, you start to get better confidence, in what you're doing. And the thing about losing, though, is it does get you to kick back and say, okay, let's re-examine everything. Let's make sure we're doing everything the right way. We had 100% attendance at our practice tonight. Weight room went well, so we've got the week off to a very good start.
Well, let's shift to getting ready for the next one, and that will be back at Alexander Stadium in a very big game against Xenia for a conference game that they come in 5-1, undefeated in the league. A lot of implications on this game still, regardless from what happened last week with us. Big game Friday night. Our kids are going to have an opportunity to host a good team, and a team that we feel that we can compete against.
I think so. I think everybody on our schedule we can compete against, and I think the same. We respect all. And we basically fear no teams. But it's a team coming in that is a big power football team. They do some things similar to us. They run some option. They run some power. Defensively, they're a 50, but they play a defense. They don't blitz a whole lot. They keep everything in front of them. They don't get a lot of big plays on them. And we have a great deal of respect for what they're doing on both offense and defense.
Well, let's use the word competing, and I know that this team feels, and we all feel in this room, we're going to win. And part of that, how do you shift that mindset of being able to come out of that game on Friday, regardless of whether we were supposed to or not supposed to, and then come into a game on Friday night knowing that you've got a team in here who's what everyone's talking about it over in Xenia for the first time. They haven't had playoffs, so now they know that this is a big game. Our kids, what are some of the keys our kids have to do to win Friday night?
I think the biggest thing they have to do is we have to get your confidence level back a little bit. I think anytime you lose a football game, you get a little bit of a strain on your confidence. But I think that comes in two different forms. Certain players lose confidence in themselves after a loss, and certain other players lose confidence in maybe other people. And so what we have to do is we have to make sure we stay together. We understand that everybody's going to come through a point. Maybe we had a defensive player that had a great game as opposed to maybe somebody that didn't. But we're all going to have our turn. Doesn't matter who you are. You're all going to at some point we'll have to wear the dunce cap. And what we've got to do is understand that and stay together. And I think our players are doing a very good job of that, of not scapegoating, of just saying, hey, everybody's in it together. Maybe 4 passes, if we would have got to the quarterback more often, maybe they wouldn't even been thrown. And I think our offense is taking the same route. The offense is talking about the fact if we hadn't had 2 turnovers, we wouldn't have got behind. Our special teams is probably saying the same thing about the onside kick. So I think everybody's doing a great job of pulling together, and that's my responsibility to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Well, one thing I've gotten from our kids today in the hallways and just either talking about the game or just indirectly, just their body language, you feel like I get a sense that we're going to go in Friday night with a great opportunity, not just to play and not just to compete, but to win.
I think so, and to be honest with you, that's every week. Every week we come in, and hopefully it never happens, but these guys could probably lose 9 in a row, and the 10th one they're saying, hey, this is ours. We're going to get this one this time. So it's a great attitude they have. We've said all year long, we're not just saying it now, we said all year long, we have great team chemistry, great work ethic. And it's so cliche-ish, and I know you said a couple times too about the 1 week at a time deal. But these are the weeks where you learn it. These are the weeks where you learn it. This is where you got to pick it up and say, hey, we got to go. You can't celebrate too much, and you can't frown too much about the thing, but you always learn from it.
Let's talk a little bit about Xenia. What are some of the things that obviously they're 5-1. They're undefeated in the league. They come in with some really great players, but what can we expect to see from Xenia more specifically on Friday night here?
Well, they run what's called the academy offense, meaning that it formerly was a wishbone, and they took the 2 backs and just moved them up closer to the line of scrimmage, motion them back and forth. Feature the option. They like to run the option. They also like to run a power game, take both of those wings, bring them under, and give to the fullback, and they kind of mix that in. They don't throw the ball very much. They've thrown the ball 18 times the whole year. When they throw the football, it is the shot. They take a shot down the field, and usually it's wide open, or they throw a halfback pass, something along those lines. But it's not too unfamiliar to see them on a 3rd and 12. Running the football, because in their mind, that's what they do. That's what they're good at. Defensively, they play a 50 front and just pressure the heck out of people with those 5 guys up front, and they have just an umbrella 4 across on the back. And like I said earlier, it's very hard to get somebody out and get big plays on them because those guys got pretty good speed in the secondary.
From our perspective offensively, what are some of the keys for us to move the ball down the field against?
Continue to balance. We got to continue to balance to get better. Now Xenia, they say, hey, this is what we're doing. We don't like to throw the football that much, unless it's a trick, something along those lines, and that's their identity. Our identity is we're striving to get a little bit more balanced. We want to get our passing game a little bit better, so we can be a little bit more diverse. So I think the biggest thing we got to do offensively is we got to continue to make good progress in that mode.
Let's talk a little bit about our guys, particularly a couple of ones that we're going to be highlighting in the second part of our show. Blane, Ohul, and Dylon Sever, talk a little bit about those two guys, and they're juniors. So they're guys that are obviously getting a little bit more playing time here in their particular positions, but also guys that we're going to rely on for the rest of this year and then leading into their senior year.
Oh yeah, and Blane is the son of one of our offensive coaches, and he's done a great job this year for us. He stepped into the quarterback role. He played safety for us last year and was a phenomenal safety, and came in this year and took the role of the quarterback on, and it improves every week. And he's a real student of the game. He enjoys the weight room. He enjoys everything, inside and outside of football. And he's having a great year. It's whenever you're the quarterback, the quarterback and the head coach are always the guys that everybody's paying the most attention to. And I think he's doing a great job in that pressure situation. Now Steve, on the other hand, is able to originally jump in with some of our 3 linebacker packages, and actually he's fast enough that we try to make some packages to get him on the field. This past week, we put him in the second half, because of the scrambling of the quarterback. Try to see if we can get an extra hat on. So he's done a great job as number one, a role player, and we almost consider him a defensive starter, almost like we have 12 starters on defense, and then also as a special teams player. So both guys are outstanding. I've had them in class, and they're great students, so we really appreciate having guys like that in our program.
Well, guys like that really do help you as you're going through, you talk about the grind of the season. Now you're going into week 7. Those are the guys that you count on, because those are the people that have really set the example in the off season.
Oh yeah, they do, and they're the kind of guys too. Also, and we don't have hardly any. I don't think we have many at all. That the guys, the bad body language guys, when things aren't going good, and they want to suck the air out of themselves and then try to grab a little bit of everybody else's if they get a chance. And I think those are 2 guys that really are always upbeat, are always ready to go. They know how to compete.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate your time today, and we look forward to a great game and a big win on Friday night against Xenia.
Definitely. Thank you.
We will be back for part 2 when we will meet Mr. Sever and Mr. Ohul, and they'll talk a little bit about their positions and how they see this particular season continuing. Welcome to part 2 of the Bill Niece's Coaches Show. At this time, we are on the players portion of the program. I want to have them introduce themselves and the positions that they play.
Dylon Sever, middle linebacker.
Blane, quarterback.
Guys, real quick, let's just talk briefly about last week. Obviously, it was not the result that we were looking for. The game of football, you don't have time to sit and worry about what happened. Just kind of like the big win, you got to get ready for the next one. So, what's been the mindset for you so far after the first day, after Monday practice?
Just kind of move on and go with our next game and see what we can do.
What part of the season for you, Dylon, has been really kind of a real highlight for you thus far?
Just coming together as a team, really building the family that we are, and working hard to get victories and stuff like that.
Good. Well, both of you guys are juniors, and you've got another year to come through. But what is this season? As we're going into, hard to believe now, week 7. We've gone through some 3-3. There's been some highs. There's certainly been some lows. But there's a lot of mental part of football, particularly as a quarterback. You're putting a lot of time in with watching film. You're watching a lot of things with scouting reports, not just the actual physical practice itself. How's that been for you?
It's been challenging. You always got to get in the next day, watch film. You just got to see the weakness of your opponent and what we can do better on the next week. That's a big thing around here, is what can we do to prepare ourselves for that game on Friday that is going to guarantee to win in the end.
When you look at your position, particularly as quarterback, there are so many facets to it, and you're not just worried about your position. You got everybody else you've got to be concerned about. So it's a leadership position. How has that been from your perspective, and how do you treat that?
I've really just had to step up. I've always kind of felt like I've been in a leadership role just throughout playing sports. So I just kind of adapted to playing quarterback this year and leading the team. Like you said, it's not just handing the ball off. It's reading this. Getting the ball to certain players, getting the line to go on set. It's just you got to control the field, and that's just how it's got to be.
Well, let's talk a little bit about just the preparation from a mental perspective. Here we are, week 7. It is a bit of a grind. The season's long.
Yes.
You got your routine. You practice every day. You know what Monday through Thursday looks like. Then you play on Friday. Then A lot of people don't know you come out and watch film early on Saturday morning. So this part of the year, how are you mentally as you're moving forward to the next opponent?
Well, we're just treating every preparation the same. Basically, we just keep on having that mentality of we got to get the win and go out and fight and stuff like that. So,
talk a little bit about the pain, the suffering that your body takes on, icing and all that kind of stuff. Are you a little more sore in week 7 than you were in week 1, I take it?
Yeah, I mean, it gets challenging, but we try to stay healthy as most as we can. We got some hurt players now, but we're going to try to keep going.
I know we've talked about it. You're here on Sundays seeing the doctor, and again, people don't see that part of it. I mean, if you're sitting at home watching TV, watching the game at night, watching the Irish, you probably got a bag of ice on your elbow or on your arm or on your leg, don't you?
Yeah, week 1 to 7, it's a lot different. You come in almost after every game, you got something new that's banged up. So that's part of the game, but you just really got to focus on getting healthy because if we're down a couple guys already, so the more we lose, just the more we're going to struggle. So it's important to take care of your body so you can prepare for next week's game.
2 more questions for you guys, and I think obviously you guys, every week we hear our guys say it's the week that's in front of us. We're not looking ahead. Mm-hmm. Week 7, Xenia. We know this is a big game. Mm-hmm. For multiple reasons. They're coming in at 5-1. They are amongst the leaders in the league. What does that mean, knowing you've got an opportunity to play a team like that in Alexander Stadium on Friday night?
It's going to be special because home. I think we got a good advantage coming in playing here at Alexander with the crowd. This game has been highlighted on our schedule since we knew. Last year they were a playoff team, and this year they're 5-1. It's going to be a battle. I'm excited. I'm really excited for Friday.
Dylon, what's your thoughts on it?
Likewise, I'm really excited to play and see how we do. It's going to be a really good game. I think that our mindset and their mindset is going to be a really good matchup, and we'll see how we do.
But my last question to you guys is going to be a hard one for you because I know, but I think you guys are up to the challenge. You're juniors. What are we learning now? You're sitting there thinking, because you get to come back and do it again next year, and when we say next year, you start back in December and you'll start the whole cycle. Right. What has this been for you, and what do you see now that you're taking with this now that you can take forward into next season?
Not to bring up last week too much, like you said, but the little games matter. We were expected to win that game, and West Carrollton came out and they kind of shocked us. I think that's something that you're always going to carry with you next year. Like, don't let that team stand in the way from possibly making it to week 11 or even further. You just got to come out, do your thing, week in and win out, and we're going to be fine. Yeah,
and it's the little things that matter. And when you're looking at a team that's trying to make a run to week 11. Week 6 is just as important as week 1, and week 2 is important as week 10. Absolutely. And that's what I'm hearing you say. Absolutely. And those workouts that you're working out in December all the way through the summer, really all those things impact that, doesn't it?
Right. From the summer sprints to the winter workouts, lifting, just getting stronger, getting faster. It all builds up to just not just week 1, not just week 10, but every week in between there, just to get to week 11.
As a junior, you're seeing all these things, and you're trying not to get ahead of yourself. But from a leadership perspective, there's some things here that you can put in the back of your mind.
Definitely.
As you're looking to lead the group next year.
Yeah, definitely. Last year, I didn't really play, but I got in a couple times this year. It's really been a step up. Definitely
and
being
a leader. Spot.
Yeah. Being a leader for next year even is going to be fun for sure. So.
Well, and you talk about earning. Both of you have earned the positions you're in. Nothing is given to you. You have to put the time in, and as you guys know, nothing will be given to you in the future. And I know you guys are going to continue to put the mental and the physical preparations in. We certainly wish you guys well against Xenia on Friday night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And just a reminder, the game will be here at Alexander Stadium. You can catch it on the Indian Nation station, where the broadcasters Bob Luby and Dwayne Bachman will be bringing it to you. There will also be followed after the Bill and These Coaches Show next week. So for our guys, we will look forward to seeing you here on Friday night at Alexander Stadium. Have a good night, everyone.